Rebecca Friedlander is a producer, a musician, a director, a photographer, a singer, an author. She doesn't miss much, but she's got a new program that you'll be seeing here on Cornerstone Television called The Divine Adventure. Rebecca, welcome to Cornerstone Connect.
Oh, thank you. Thrilled to be here.
Well, tell us about this new program. What is the divine adventure that you find yourself on?
Absolutely. You know, God has an adventure for us every single day. And it's so not of this world. It's partnering with Him, the God of heaven. And so the divine adventure is just learning how to embrace the things that He sets in front of us every single day.
Well, you had a very unique situation in that you were settled in California, but you really felt the call of God to come and to this cabin that we see behind you there in Texas, where your father lived. And could you just tell us what was the situation and what led you to come there?
Absolutely. My father and I had a very interesting relationship in that we were separated when my parents divorced. I was about 11 years old, and my dad had gone through a car accident and had a traumatic brain injury. And so fast forward 10, 15 years later, God did this massive restoration work. We were able to walk through a forgiveness process and see God bring something beautiful out of our broken relationship. And so I found this beautiful log home for him about 15 years ago. And he lived in this space. And we did home groups here. We did ministry. So many people came to this space and encountered God. And so a couple of years ago, I was living in California, and my dad got real sick. We figured out that it was his last days, and I came back to help take care of him and walk him into the arms of Jesus. And he wanted to be here at this space. He called it the refuge. So the refuge cabin, when he passed away, was left to me. And I was going to sell it. I thought, you know what? I have a home in California. I love the West Coast. But as I came here and was getting the cabin prepared and ready for whatever its next phase of life was, I kind of fell in love with the space. And I realized, I think God has more that He wants to do here. And so the last 2 years have been spent renovating this cabin and the land and creating a space for spiritual retreats and for people to come, and building a ministry team and all the things that go along with that. And we have seen God do some unbelievable things, just really creating that thin place, cultivating that space where the presence of God can come and touch people's lives. And yeah, it has been a divine adventure. And so the show really captures that. It's the renovation process of taking a home that's kind of outdated and has a lot of potential, but wow, it needs some work, and showing the step-by-step renovation. So it's a home renovation show, but with a twist. It's about faith and the journey and inheritance and embracing the adventure that God puts in front of us.
Well, you know, I've seen some of your programs before, and you do a lot of different things. But was DIYing, do it yourself, was that part of your, of your repertoire? Were you, were you used to doing the hammer and saw kind of thing?
You know, I'd had a little bit of experience with that, but I'd kind of sworn off power tools at that point in my life. So I think it was a good challenge to stretch out of my comfort zone. And I definitely had a lot of help. I didn't do everything myself, but I have learned how to use a drill in the last 2 years and pick up a saw and do some things that were out of my comfort zone. But it was part of the vision, and just seeing that come to pass was so worth it.
Well, let me ask you about this for the viewer. How's the viewer going to relate and be challenged to walk in their own divine adventure as they see what God's led you to?
Each show has a principle that all of us can embrace. So the first episode talks about my dad and shows clips of my dad and talks about the power of forgiveness and restoration in relationships and how God loves restoration. And another show talks about creativity. How can we embrace the creative journey that God has put in front of us? Another show talks about worship, actually building worship into our lives. And here at the cabin, we gathered a bunch of worship leaders together. Most of them had not even met each other before, but embraced that journey of community and creating some really pretty powerful music that came out of that. So each show has a topic that anybody can relate to and use to build their divine adventure in their own lives.
I love it that the divine adventure so often is something we would never have picked ourselves, but God leads us into it. And I have to tell you, I was impressed when I saw the footage of you putting that beam up in the kitchen. I was sure you were going to destroy all your dishes and everything, but you did it. You did it, and God gives us that ability to do the things that He calls us to, doesn't He?
It sure does. Step by step.
Step by step. Well, Rebecca, we're so glad that we have the program, The Divine Adventure. It's going to be on starting February 2nd. It's going to be on Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. So I would really encourage everyone to check it out. And Rebecca, thank you so much for going on that divine adventure and bringing us along.
Absolutely. Welcome aboard.
Well, I would just encourage everyone to make sure you check it out. Again, that is 9:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, starting on February 2nd.